introduce let me introduce you to ILSA. Together with other professionals from different legal, academic, professional backgrounds, we decided that the digitalization of the legal professions should start at the universities. For this reason, we brought together already above 20 universities from all over the world to foster the digitalization, to reflect together about which direction should the education, the legal education, and the whole sector go forward. So today, we have a pleasure of welcoming some of the members of ILSA. And within the group of ILSA, that is exactly what we try to do. So through the webinars, through the working groups, events such as a conference that will be organized annually, and different collaborative groups, we try to enhance this digitalization and innovation within the legal sector. Today, we have a pleasure of having with us 3 speakers. After the introduction, we will have 6 to 10 minutes of their intervention, and they will try to answer 3 questions that I will present you in a few seconds. And after their intervention, we will open a debate to the floor. So you are welcome to follow, ask the question in the chat, although every answer, the Q&A, will be done after their intervention. So today, we have the pleasure of having with us Delphine Dogo from Université Catholique de Lille from France, Camilo Piedretita from Medellin, Colombia, Juan José Puig from ISDE Madrid, Spain, and me as a moderator, and I have an honor to be the Vice President of ILSA. The questions that the speakers will be answering and around which we would like to focus the debate afterwards are: how has the pandemic impacted your law teaching methods and contents? How has the pandemic affected students' educational experience? And also, and the last question, what kind of innovations have you embraced and which of them will remain after the pandemic? So with this short presentation, I give the floor to the speakers. Before that, I would like please ask the participants to turn off the cameras and turn off the mics so that we can just see the ones who will be speaking. You are more than welcome to ask the questions on the chat and interact with our speakers afterwards. But for now, please, let's start with Delphine, then Camilo will follow, and Juanjo will be the last to speak.
Oh, I was under the understanding that José Puig was starting, but I can certainly start. But I think he's got a very compelling start, no?
Okay, well, if Juan José wants to start, he's welcome to.
Okay, works well for me. Thank you very much, Delphine. Hi, everyone. Thanks, first of all, to ILSA, to the president, María Jesús González Espejo, and to the moderator, Iga, and above all, thanks also to my colleagues, Delphine and Camilo. Welcome to all the participants. It's a pleasure for us, for me, to participate in this interesting roundtable. And I think today we have an interesting debate about, in my own opinion, 5 topics or headlines or key points that will be very important for these situations that we are living in the universities around the world. First of all, is our capacity with the hardware of our institutions in, in the digital classroom, equipments, etc. I think the second point, or the second headline is about the software. In this case, not only apart from Zoom or Teams, we are now running this conference, thanks Teams or Meets or another e-learning tools. I am talking about also the e-learning campus that the institutions we have already, working during these years. Also, the materials, I think it's very important in this case and in this new situation because of the pandemic, the topics, the ad hoc presentations of the teachers, adapted to the online methodology. The fourth headline that I think is very interesting is talking about motivation of the students. As all of George knows, they are millennials, our students, and I'm sure the students of the universities of my colleagues also are millennials. So also it is very important to provide the specific training, not only to the students, also to the teachers. I think in our case, the teachers are practitioners, as for example, the president of ILSA, and are professionals, and they got used to work with this kind of tools in their professional activity. And the fifth point, I think, is interesting to talk about the academic team works or function. I think they have had to adapt their controls standards of the classroom, of the groups, of the students, to this e-learning methodology and to this pandemic time situation that we are living. I think this is, in my own opinion, 5 important key points that can follow, for the rest and the participants and our students or professionals that are participating in this conference.
If that is all from Juan Jose, I think that we can follow with either Camilo or Delphine. Thank you very much for this intervention. I put a small message on the chat saying that this webinar is being recorded. So whether if you have any restrictions, please just send me an email, and I gave my email on the chat. So we can follow. Thank you very much again, Juan Jose, for your presentation. Any questions that are coming to your mind, I'm referring myself to the public, but also to other speakers and the ILSA team, who is also present. And I will have a pleasure to introduce you to our president, who's also present here with us when we open the debate. Don't hesitate to put it on the chat so that we have food for thought for the further debate. And now I leave you with Camilo from Colombia. Camilo, thanks for being here with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Iga. Thank you, Ilsa. Thank you, Maria, Jesus. Thank you to all my colleagues here and all the participants. Well, it's an honor for us to be here with you guys today. We are a private university in Colombia, specifically in Medellin. It's like the second, third biggest city in Colombia. And we have 60 years of existence. And well, I'm glad to share some of the challenges that we have through all the past year, and obviously the one we're starting now. So thank you very much. Well, the first that I wanna share with you is we closed the university in March 2020. In that moment, we were operating 100% in-person programs, but since 2010, the university had been purchasing Microsoft Teams lessons in their 50-year anniversary around some project called Project 50. When our president started to think about the future and maybe entering in the virtual education. So when the pandemic started or made us close the university in 2020, March, we had all these Microsoft licenses, but the students and the teachers didn't know how to use them. So we shut down the university for 1 week. And I think in a very huge effort of all the professors and the technical team, we can convert our operation to 100% virtual operation. This year now, we are working on alternance model that allows universities in Colombia, like 40% of the people can attend to classes, but unfortunately, things like obviously people are scared, professors, regulations, obviously, and things like economic issues. The students don't want to come to university because they have to spend money on transportation, food. They are not coming at that percentage of 40%. We have like 50%, 20% of the students is coming to the university. That's more or less the situation right now in my institution. Regarding this question about how the pandemic has affected students, well, what we do every 2 months, more or less, is a survey, anonymous survey to teachers and students to know how they're feeling, how they're taking all this transformation or all this impact. I want to highlight some things that we found in this survey. All of them, I suppose they're obvious for you or similar in your institution. The first one, well, we define the university as a life experience. So not coming to the campus has been affecting this interaction between your classmates, your teachers. Well, you can see the picture behind me. That's not a real picture. Well, that's a picture of my university. It's a very beautiful city and a very beautiful university. So they miss that a lot. That all that happens in the person-to-person interaction in the university. That's obvious. Well, a lot we have promoted in the past years. That's why we are interested in being part of organizations like ILSA, all these experiential learning models. So, well, this virtual methodology has affected that learning by doing methods that we were trying to enforce. The students said that they have been reduced their attentions and participations to class. I'm gonna talk about this later. One of the ideas in the course distributions that we made is that if you have a Nobel Prize teacher, we don't have it, but I'm going to try to make me explain. You want that professor, that top professor of your university, get to more students. And with the person-to-person methodology, you only can put that teacher to 35 students, at least. Under this methodology, we create a distribution. We have usually 3-4 hour a week classes. So we have 1 hour or 2 hours in a virtual room with 1,000 students listening a theoretical, usually a class from this top professor. But that has a lot of managing issues with the schedules of the students and the professors, and obviously you have to have another teaching assistant professors for those other hours. But they feel that great, we have this great professor of the university that is giving knowledge to a lot of people right now, but we cannot participate actively in those classes. So that's something that they miss too. It's like a good initiative from the university, but obviously they miss because this is a team group that has 1,000 students or 100 students, and in 1 hour they cannot interact as much as they wanted with their professor. Obviously, and especially in global South countries like mine, we have a lot of technical problems in connectivity. 30% or 40% of our students have a scholarship. We are a private institutions, but we have a huge amount of students that have problems, economic problems. So we have to help them economically, like 30-40%, and they have in their neighborhoods, they have a lot of problems with connectivity, or they didn't even have equipment. They didn't have personal computers, for example. So we have to buy portable routers to put in their homes. We give them a access to internet from the university. We lend them like 300 personal computers from the university. Well, we're talking about 10,000 students, undergraduate students, 400 personal computers are not enough, but well, that's what we try to do. However, all these things, only 50 or 20% of the students are considering leave their studies. They're trying hard to stay studying. We have a lot of preoccupations about students leaving the university now in this time, but only 50 or 20% are considering that this situation can prevent them from continuing their studies. And academically speaking, the grades they obtained during the last year in general from the old university are better than 2019. So, well, that's some of the things that I wanted to share with you. Regarding the methodologies, because I think I'm taking so much time, but I just want to say this. I think that the most important thing that changed this year or the past year was what and how we are evaluating students, because person to person we were very evaluating more thinking about memoristic skills. On the last years, we've been thinking about we should prepare our students on that thing that is called 21st century skills, like creativity, flexibility, collaboration, initiative, information and literacy, communication and technology literacy. I think Juan Jose was saying something that's very important. Being a digital native doesn't mean that you know how to compress or decompress a video. So we change a lot our evaluation models. I'm going to try to say two or three more things because of the time. We increase the use of problem-based learning or case study methods. That's obvious. I think Juan Jose just said it. But the way we implement this is what I think it's different. The students have to choose or create mechanisms to form groups even without knowing each other, because we have students that entered the university in June 2020 and today they haven't met in person. So they have to create their groups, create rules for their ethic working groups. There's no correct answers. I think that's very important in the mindset of the professors, especially in law professors. There are no more correct answers. You have, as a student, you have or can take a position in a legal problem, and from that position, you can be the worker, or you can be the employer, or you can be the judge. So from that side, give me or try to resolve the problem and search all the legal arguments about, from your position. Different formats, videos, songs, infographics. You don't know how much this can change evaluation and obviously promote things like creativity and flexibility. I tried that in my personal course, and that's great. You don't know how these guys make videos, they make rap songs. I don't want to trivialize legal education, but I think this will work, and they don't lose this attention and passion for what they're doing. And you don't have to be worried if they're making fraud. That's the most important thing. I'm gonna end with these things. We promote the use of information resources. Our universities have in their libraries a lot of these digital books and that students and professors we don't use. My president used to say some phrase that I remember a lot, that we have to The Stanford curve says that the society will double information every 72 days. So one of the principal skills you have to give your students is, in all that big ocean of information, how do they find the gold between the dump or the slag? And that's a very important issue right now, not only on the pandemic situation. And I'm gonna stop there, because the last part was that the thing that I told, how we distribute the classes to make these top professors reach more students. I'm sorry, Iga, if I extended too much, but well, these are all the things that I want to share with all my colleagues here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Camilo, and no worries whatsoever about the time frame. We are doing well so far, and it's just amazing and really, we are learning already so much, and it's been 24 minutes. So it's great to hear all those hands-on experiences, really, because that's how we learn, by doing, as you said. And as our students do, so do we. So I think that creating this environment of exchange, listening to Juan Jose speak from Madrid to us about how they do things, speaking to you, Camilo, directly from Colombia, as a dean of the university there, and now listening to Delphine, who's currently in France, and will share with us also how they do things there, and how also do French students handle the whole situation, because let's not forget that we learn, they learn as well, and they have to adjust. So we already have a few questions popping up on the chat, and we are having questions around the well-being of the students. So I'm not gonna spoiler the further discussion and the conversation. I'm gonna stop myself there, although there is a lot of questions I want to ask myself, as the speaker have been advised already. And I let Delphine present us the French perspective on the topic, on the innovative law teaching in times of pandemic. And then we're going to continue with the debate. And please do not hesitate to ask questions on the chat. So there you go, Delphine, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Iga. Thank you, ILSA, for putting this conversation together. I think it's fascinating, very interesting, and I've appreciate a lot of things that were said by Juan Jose and Camilo before me. So I get to just say what I want to add to this interesting insights that you put forward. So I think so. In a sense, what this conversation symbolizes is the shock that we are all in still, that we managed to move online. Basically, I think we are all both happily surprised and celebrating ourselves that we managed to do this move rather smoothly, and we are. It's almost a miracle that it worked so well, right? And I think it's also important to recognize that universities have been extremely resilient in moving online from one day to another, and not that they were themselves sure that they could. So it's really important to notice that. And one of the positive aspects also, I think, of this crisis for us universities, I think, is that it has also fostered renewed the conversation on pedagogy. And I think this is a very much needed conversation, and a conversation that every teacher is interested in, and yet there is very little space in which we can actually take time to talk about methods and teaching skills, right? So that's, I think, a very good aspect of this crisis, that everybody had to think again about how they are teaching, and institutions had to invest themselves in pedagogy again. And I think this is great, and thank you yourself for involving us in this reflection through ILSA. I think is very welcome. And why is thinking about digital learning important, especially for lawyers, is because we have a lot of work to do in thinking about our legal pedagogy in general, right? So we are also at a moment for now a long time in which there are, as Camilo was saying, there are modes of teaching that are very problematic, and that still probably hindered and are problematic offline also, right? So one of the things that I think the online move has shown is that there are lots of teaching methods that didn't work offline neither. It just has made it visible. that a lot of legal education is also based on teaching methods that are pretty disappointing in general. And as students, we probably also have experienced this ourselves, right? That we're trying to change this for this reason too. So I think this is a very important moment to then rethink about how we do things, right? And this is an important conversation to think about how we're going to do this digital teaching and how we're going to do it better than what we would have thought, right? So that's part of the enthusiasm I have to addressing this question. And of course, there is disparities there. In a sense, there have been sites and institutions that were already engaging in transforming their legal education, and I think this is the case of the speakers today, and this has made it easier to move online because in a sense, we were already engaged in dynamic, student-centered, active pedagogy, and that makes this move easier, of course, because the one thing that doesn't work at all is the frontal teacher-based learning experience that really is a total failure online, probably also in the classroom. And so in my institution, but in everyone here, I feel that having invested in transforming legal pedagogy has paid off in doing this move. It has been very easy in a sense. The disruption has not happened there to transform this teaching, right? Because already we're engaging, you know, flipped classrooms and student-led, and he has just maybe helped the push toward this transition. So that's also maybe be a plus of the transition. So that's I think a good thing about this focus on the method. And as Camila was saying, I think it also brings back a conversation that should not be overlooked in talking about tools and methods and tricks, which is what are we teaching? It's not just the tricks, it's not just the tools, it's not just the platform we use, but what is the purpose of our teaching and what is the content of what we're teaching. And I think this is something that we need to always put forward when we talk about method. Method is also about content and it's also about a purpose. And these things go together and you cannot totally distinguish these different aspects. And teaching frontally black letter law is not the same thing as teaching in an active perspective, because you will teach other types of legal skills, right? And this is what the skills we're looking for here is to probably have students think about the world in which they're going to live. And I think in this digital transformation, we want to think very carefully in designing these new curriculums and new courses. What is the lawyers that we are trying to build? What is the skills that we want them to have? And what is the world in which we want them to feel they can have some agency, right? And this is, I think, important to have in mind, to focus on pedagogy in the best sense of the term and not just the medium or the toolbox of teaching, which is just a part of the conversation and not the entire conversation. And so all these celebratory things about the crisis hindered probably, and this I will probably move to the second part of the conversation, the students' experience. I think is probably where we have failed because their life have been miserable. And so, of course, we have a lot of disparities in the student body we have, and even in the student body, I also teach in the main private law school in France, where most of students are paying for their education, but yet, as Camila was saying, even in these private institutions, there is a lot of disparities among the student body, and people don't have the same access to technology, the same access to just a quiet space, a workable space from which they can work all day, be on class all day. It's a lot of, this requires a lot of materiality concern that we now needed to engage with that we didn't have to before. We were curating the learning environment at university, but now we also need to think about the learning environment at home for our students. I think this is one problem. And so I think thinking about learning experience as a learning space in general, both digital and physical, I think is important nowadays. And you have two things I wanna offer. I mean, this is what I keep for myself in thinking about how to go forward with this teaching. And the conclusion is, first, thinking about students is implementing more care and more inclusivity in my work. So it's probably I didn't pay that much energy in building community, in being inclusive in my teaching. And I think this is a lot of effort that we need to make as teachers in our classroom and institutionally as law schools, right? So there is a new type of work that we need to do here, is to address aspects of our students' life that we weren't used to address, including mental health, of course, and also thinking about where they are and where they work from and their schedule and basically their well-being overall. So that's, I think, very difficult yet important. And one of the things that I think created a lot of problems in general, although students are generally happy, there are points of conflict and tension and thinking about assessment. I think, Camilo, you pointed very well that assessment has been a very difficult thing for both professors who felt deprived of being able to check what they have taught, and students who felt both lost in the type of assessment that we're offering and also a bit distrusted. They felt that it was all about surveillance and avoiding cheating, etc. And I think this is typically where we lack care. We need to maybe invest more in trusting them and in building systems that ensure and foster trust rather than surveillance and fight against cheating and these kinds of things, which I think affects them emotionally much more than we think in building these systems. And this goes finally thinking about their experience. I think, Camilo, you are right that what we need to invest is teaching their digital capacity and digital agency, that they should be able now to navigate all this amount of information, because they have now more contact with this ocean of information, also because we're bombarding them with more content to have asynchronous content and more assessments and micro assessment and conversation, different modes of participation. And this has created an overload. And we've seen this in many institutions, an overload of information that they can't really handle. So I think there a lot to be teaching them about digital agency and how to navigate legal information with digital tools, right? So what I take for the third question, what will be the innovations that we'll try to work with for the next part of the pandemic, is basically to put more attention on how students feel about things, allow a variety of mode of participation from them. I can't expect all of them to participate orally or all of them to participate in a written form, and to have a variety of mode in which I interact with them, I think is what I keep as a mantra, and to be patient, understanding of what they can perform, basically. And as a professor, I think that I have more than ever put myself in a position where I feel I'm an activity designer, where I design activity for them, I curate content, but I want them to be able to engage with each other and to work the material from them, right? So less and less, I feel I find myself in a classical professorial position, and more as a curator of a learning experience. And that, I think, is also something that has been shown to us more than ever by this pandemic. So my conclusion is basically that we need to think about this transformation more seriously than just responding to this pandemic. This is a transformation of legal education at large that was already going on. This has just brought a big push, a big accelerator to this transformation that we are engaged in more generally than these couple of years that we are going through, hopefully. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you very much, Delphine. I appreciate especially bringing this positivity to the whole conversation, because I think, and there is going to be time for conclusion, certainly after we do the debate, but something I already can say is that as it does to the legal profession, as for the lawyers are concerned, it does the same thing to the law professors, that it brings out the humanity of everything, that we need to be more human about the understanding, about the approach, opening the dialogue, listening, and not just being one-way speakers. So being the actors and taking the proactive approach towards everything. So thank you very much to all the three of you. So we had a pleasure to listen to, firstly, Juan Jose Sanchez Puig, the Dean and CEO of the ESDE High Institute of Law and Economics in Madrid, Spain. Camilo Piedreita, the Dean of EAFIT Law School in Medellin, Colombia, and to end with Delphine Dogot, the Associate Professor of Law and Digital Technologies of the Catholic University of Lille, the Parisian campus in France. So thank you very much for those remarks. And now we will open the second part of our webinar of today. And I have a pleasure again to have with us and to have among us Maria Jesus Espejo Gonzalez, who is the president of Innovation in Law Studies Alliance. And she's present today with us, and she's going to take over from me the mic and lead the debate that we already have a bit created in the chat. So Maria, adelante.
Thank you so much, Iga. Thank you so much to all the speakers. I think that we have very nice conclusions, and I will write them down and send them to you, because I think we have one of these lovely infographics out of what you have said. As Iga said, humanity is probably going to be the axis of the challenge that university have to assume in the coming months, because this pandemic is going to go on at least for one more year, and we are going to have the time to really develop this new university. And I don't want to talk more, but at the end, maybe Iga, if you want, I can share with you what I have been writing. And what I suggest is that since we have like 7 questions, and all the people who have posed and speak excellent English, they can probably just take the mic and then pose the questions themselves. So what I will do is I will invite these participants. I will mention the name. We will use the same order that is in the chat, and they will start asking their question. Who wants to answer for us is no problem. You can decide yourselves. If nobody answers, maybe somebody in the audience wants to answer. Let's try to keep it as open as possible. If we see that this becomes very untidy and it's like no way to handle this, then we will go to the traditional way of we asking and then one of the speakers answering. So the first question was probably Eric Birsma. Eric, do you want to take the mic and make your question?
Yeah, of course. I'll also show my face, but maybe a bit more personal. So I will show me myself and I will address my question. The question came in mind when
Excuse me, Eric, please say who you are and from which university. Yes. Because the idea here is that we start creating a strong community of universities with a focus on innovation. So it's good that we start knowing each other.
Of course, Maria, I will. Now, I'm Eric Wiersma from the Netherlands. I'm working at the University of Applied Sciences in Rotterdam, the second largest city of the Netherlands, which is a sort of law school for people who are going to work in very practical or law-affiliated professions. So we are all struggling, of course, with the pandemic and with the challenge to do online education, how to arrange it in a very short while, since March last year until now. So we're still learning. I was wondering, I heard Mr. Vargas talk and also Delphine talking, and also Mr. Juan Jose. Did you have in your universities special programs to ensure the mental health of students? Because we did some research and we experienced that a lot of students have some mental issues with all this pandemic. It's very difficult to keep their motivation at head. So I was just wondering, what are you doing on programs or special programs perhaps to deal with that kind of problem, because mental wellness is of course a very condition to be able to learn. So, and I don't have the answer myself, but we are struggling with this, and we're doing things online. We're doing things as much as we can. I also shared a sort of a flyer with tips how to study to make sure. I was just wondering how you look upon that kind of issues.
Yes. Okay. Iga, do you want that I answer Mr. Eric? Okay, Eric, thanks for your question. I totally agree with you. I think COVID-19 situation was a challenge and learning experience for all the education world, in the case of our universities, in terms of the development of both technological tools and educational techniques applied to online teaching, it was fundamental. So you say, and Camilo say during his intervention, teachers have lived this moment with realism and flexibility, and they relied on technological tools and overcame them with new didactics. As you said, active learning methodologies were used to all times to stimulate interaction. This is very important between teacher and student. In this respect, and it's my opinion, and I will invite the rest of my colleagues to give us the opinion too. In this respect, as opposed to this possibility of maintaining conventional classes, like in the past, in most cases, team-based learning was chosen on favor, when I say favor, is to favor active or an effective learning in groups of students. I think it was a key point. This way, we encourage the participation to all of them, reflection, and the acquisition of critical thinking of our students. The critical thinking in this kind of methodologies is basic. The key was to raise cases that led to discussion on sharing, within the teams, In our case, I don't know, in the case of the universities of my colleagues, we random groups of between 3 and 5 students, because more is very difficult to have under control. And with 3, 5 students were created sharing within the teams, And who solved this case? I think contributed different conclusions. They analyze the different scenarios that they manage as lawyers, because they are practitioners in reality, and made judgments and presented their solutions to the rest of the class. This led very dynamic classes, and our experience in this case was very enrichment. I don't know, repeat, in the case of Delphine, that is teacher, a prestigious teacher, or my colleague, Dean Camilo, what they say. But in my opinion, this could be, a framework of the key point that you say very good, in my opinion, your question.
Any other speakers would like to share their views about this question, answer to this question, some regard?
Yeah, Iga, I think that Eric, and hi, Eric, you were asking about mental health programs, no? Yeah. Okay, yeah, sadly, yeah, we have to improve these programs because on the past years, we've been having a lot of problems with depression, suicide attempts, gender violence, and stuff like that. And obviously, this situation promote a lot of these cases. So we have to create a special department, we create programs, we create campaigns, we create surveys, like don't stay silent, raise your hand if you need help, if you have anxiety. But yeah, that's been a big program past year, but it comes from years before. But on the past year, we have to improve it.
Yes.
If I can add something, I don't know of any mental health program here for universities, but the Bar of the Bars, so the Council of the Bars of Spain, has made a research. I can share it with you. It's in Spanish, but exactly on this topic. And it was published only a couple of months ago because they know that this is a big problem within the field of lawyering. And the results were really astonishing. Well, maybe not so astonishing, but very bad. So a lot of lawyers suffer stress. A lot of lawyers suffer all kinds of sicknesses. And now at the moment, they are looking for solutions to help the profession improving. Whether this comes already from the students' time or is something that they achieve as a result during their job experience, I don't know, but I think it's very good. The sooner you start teaching people about the importance of their health and particularly of their mental health, especially for professions where the mind is the most important asset that you have, I think the better. So I don't know if somebody doesn't have any concrete experience on this, then we jump into the next question. Anybody else can add something to this?
No, I wanted to share the puzzle with Eric is very difficult. I think this is not something that especially European universities were prepared, because we relied on very strong health systems, and somehow mental health is something that is being dealt outside of the university. But now with this pandemic, it has brought this problem inside at the core, and I think institutional response has been tentative, not perfect, and that this has been a call probably for the best for everyone to realize that there should be mental health should be taken care of more seriously within university, and not just send the student to the shrink, basically, which was sort of the reaction, traditional reaction of universities here, and now to embed at least procedures by which information can circulate about vulnerabilities of certain students, because sometimes students know that there is a problem and they tell us and we don't know where to bring this information. And so at least at the informational level, so that we are aware that there are issues. That I think is the first step to implement before having an appropriate response, at least a procedure to address the issues. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that exactly what Delphine was speaking about when she was doing her presentation is that these problems, I mean, everything that we are going through, the implementation of the digital tools, the handling the financial and economic situation of the students, and the mental health issues, it's not new. It's been with us. It's just that it's right now that we realize the importance of it. Maybe also because it touches us personally, because we spend all the time at home and also start to notice. So maybe exactly, and looking at it as the glass half empty of everything that we can learn from it, it's doing us a lot of good. So I think that it may be the answer to many questions that will be asked. And Maria Jesus, if you want to follow with the second.
Yes, I just share the research of the Spanish Bar Association, so you can have a look at it if you want. Then the second question was posed by Andrea. So Andrea, do you want to I don't know if Andrea
Hello,
is there.
it's me, Chusa. It's
Hello,
Karen.
Andrea.
Hello.
Hello, how are you? Go on, please.
Hi, thanks for the space. My question was very precise, but if you don't mind, I would like to ask another question linked to
No
that.
problem. Go ahead.
My question was actually for Camilo, just to know how you were handling both in-presence classes and online, or the hybrid system, if the teacher had to teach both times the same thing, or if you had something else going on. So that was my very specific question. But the question I would like to use also this space to ask is, I've seen from my experience now, I teach the first level of students. So those are students that have never met each other. And I think that is another problematic that is very difficult to address, which is that these students have never met themselves other than online. And what I've seen is that many times they feel, in some cases, ashamed to turn their videos on, or because that can be because of their home situation or how they feel about that. And I've seen that sometimes this represents a difficult space for them to interact. So I wanted to ask all of you what you've seen that are good tools or mechanisms for them to create really to work as a team. Because I try to, in our university, I'm sorry I didn't present myself. I'm Andrea Vallejo from the Catholic University of Cuenca in Ecuador. And our university also fosters students to work in team. And I've seen this can be very problematic because they don't know each other. And most times they feel there can be this things of ashamed of what their spaces are, and they don't want to turn their videos on or talk much about themselves because they haven't had those informal spaces to know themselves. So I wanted to ask you what you found has worked for you, and if your universities have like specific programs in order for them to know each other, even if those are spaces that are not formally educational spaces. So that is my additional question, if I may. Thank you.
Yeah. Camilo, do you want to answer her?
Yeah. Hi, Andrea. Great questions. I'm going to start for the first one. Well, what we do is that we have 150 cameras inside the classrooms. So when one signature is programmed, a one-on-one person here physically at the university, so the professor has to come to the university. There's like a 270 degrees camera that turns inside the classroom. So the students that don't want or cannot, for regulation issues, attend to the university, they can watch the class in their homes, but it's a different class than what you are seeing here in Teams, for example. So they can see their classroom, their friends, they can see the professor entirely writing on the board, things like that. So that's a great technology. And also the students at home can interact with the professor, and we put one assistant to the professor that so he can be watching what in the chat, for example, the students that didn't want or cannot arrive to the university are asking or things like that. Well, but that's a huge inversion in terms, economical terms. And the second one, well, that's great questions. We have something that helps a little. We have like this induction program for a week on the first week of the semester. So you have to do it because that's like a signature. If you don't do it, you fail. So we have that power. On the second semester of past year, and obviously in the starting one this semester, the week before we start the semester, they have to arrive to the university. No exceptions, because for regulatory issues, we have 40% of people that can arrive to the university. Well, unless you're sick or you have hypertension, blood pressure, or diabetes, or things like that, you don't have to arrive to the university. So here we create little groups in a very controlled environment with all the biosecurity things, etc., and they meet each other. Other things that we are using is in the first semester, we are trying to work a lot in very little projects using these like creatics surveys where you can find people, create a perfect group for innovation, for example. That's a very used methodology in innovation projects. So we place them in a group, and they are managed by a teacher or by assistant to the professor. And well, I think that's how we're dealing with that. But it's very hard because they don't know each other and they don't want to interact with their friends. Well, I remember another initiative from one professor or two that using all these tools like Doodle or Kahoot or things like that, he could match which students make a better match with each other in terms of personality. Well, I like sports, I like reading, I like this kind of music. I'm from this part of the country and not from another one. Well, this is obviously groups that finally affect, or finally you make more friends with this kind of people. And he tried to organize them using these groups, using these methodologies. So try to find which people match better than other. That's what I can share, but it's a hard question.
No, definitely. Andrea, very good questions. And I agree with Camilo. I would like to highlight maybe Kahoot, the tools, you know, if you have opportunity to practice with this tool, integrates the game, you know, and as an important element for the teaching activity in the classroom, you know. It is based on the use, as Camilo said, questionnaires or surveys and discussions, and it was very helpful for our teachers and also for our students, which facilities, you know, the healthy, you know, was that we say. And I think it also is very interesting about the other question, the Consejo General de la Abogacía Española inform about the burnout that Maria Jesus said. I think it's very relevant, this information too.
So thank you, Andrea, for this great question. I share your puzzle as to how to engage with them, and I find the same fact that some don't want to engage in the way that we offer them, right? So what has worked best for me, I think, is to offer a variety of participation modes that can be commenting on a Google Doc or participating orally in class or in chat or work in groups from different sizes, because sometimes they're comfortable at 5 or at 2, and just try on various scales to offer a variety of possibility to engage. Because there's not one model that I find answers everyone's ability, and in a sense, they don't know themselves what they're capable of yet. And so that also has, I think, fostered that, but it's not perfect and it's often disappointing. But this is what has worked best for me. The danger of this is being confusing as to the amount of things they need to engage with, right? So there is also a simplicity of message of what is the assessment here and what am I expecting you to do that is difficult to address. The more you offer a variety of engagement possibility, the more confused they are of what do you want me to do is also a something that needs to be clear. And so there's been more than ever talk about this is what we do here, this is what we do today, and a lot of time spent explaining the outcomes and the expectations of everything that we do. And this is also consuming for us and for them. But that's one of the dangers that we have in multiplying all these tricks and tools and stuff, is that they are completely lost about what is it we want them to do. How they should perform is difficult for them to assess.
Yeah, I think that, if I may just, Juan Jose, before you intervene again, I think that we are getting back to the humanity, but also to the importance of the teacher's emotion intelligence and understanding, again, students as humans. And some sort of reflection came to me, which is quite maybe brave, but I think that we need to realize that this physical contact that we have with each other, it's a phase of getting to know someone. So we are skipping it. And as teachers, I think that the survey about the personalities of students to match their interest, it is the alternative to this seeing somebody and having these synergies and the energy exchange and seeing whether the student will interact well or not, which is something we do as humans naturally, and we've done for many years now. And now we have to replace that with some kind of technology because the times are as they are. So we need to maybe encourage the students before coming to class to take the personality tests, or to share something about each other, to encourage and start the class. And maybe, let's not see that as a waste of time, but in terms of the contents as for the law is concerned, because we are still speaking of law education. So I know, as I remember from the university's time, every teacher thought that their subject is the most important and wanted to pass the knowledge of the law, right? But maybe taking the time to create those working groups about who would like to collaborate with whom and getting to know them, and spending this time on the team building instead of just teaching the law, it's also our responsibility now. And that's what I think. So yeah, embracing the technology for that is an excellent case.
And to answer this, Iga, I think you make a very good point. We are now human resource managers in a sense also.
And that's amazing. I mean, I think that we should embrace it. I think that it's bringing I mean, depends. I believe that we may be introvert, extroverts, so as our students, but I think it brings another challenge to the education. And after all, it's about human interaction. So as you say, yeah.
But more specifically, what's happening now, at least for the students here, is that we are their everything. Yeah. They have other activity at all, except watching Netflix or whatever. So their whole life is what we offer them. And
we are their everything. That's
they have zero agency. So one thing I think works well, for instance, is that offering them to choose among different topics for the class. For instance, you don't know which session, we have 15 themes, pick 8, and we'll do what you like. And give them some sense of agency or control over something, even if it's, I think helps them to go back to the mental health, feeling that they're active and they're agent of their education, because now they're just receiving all these stuff and this is their whole life. There's nothing else that they do. They don't go to cafes after or
exactly. Finally, the university has achieved to be top.
And so that I think we need to also maybe try to feel them that they are agents of the meeting. And I think the project-based, the group-based helps this, right? They design their projects, they design their interactions. And even though it's difficult, I think at least they feel that they have some room to engage with the world they are interested in, not the one that we are.
Student-centered, basically, student-centered education.
Okay, may we go, because Carol, you are leaving, you are saying here that you're leaving, but you wanted to ask a question. Do you want to ask it before leaving? She probably left already. Okay, so we have Chris Syke. Chris, do you want to pose your question? Chris from Manchester. Hi, Chris.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
Happy New Year.
Good to see you. Appearance. I went for a run in the rain, and so I won't leave my camera on too long.
Don't worry.
Hi, everyone.
As well.
So yeah, I was basically my question was just about international collaboration.
Yes.
I think, well, this is a good example of international collaboration, and I've done some teaching in Spain and in the Ukraine, some other Eastern European locations without having to leave my desk, and so I think that's quite a positive thing. I wondered what the panel's experience of that has been, and also whether perhaps like me, they think that maybe universities should take more advantage of these opportunities. After all, you don't have to fly a visiting lecturer halfway across the world now, put them up in a hotel, etc., etc. Yeah, that was my question.
Who wants to answer?
Yeah, no, I think it's very good question. Thanks for your questions, Christopher. I think, yes, in our case, ISDE had, a conversation with the rest of the partnerships that we have around the world with universities there in UK, also in the US and in Asia, in India. And we also took ideas from them about how we can manage the new methodology during the pandemic times. And also, as you said, I think we have an opportunity, we can invite more teachers from other countries. We, have not to pay the flights and the hotels, and, and the teachers has not to expend a lot of hours, in movement around the countries. And in our case, for example, in one class, for example, in M&A, we invite the professors, the main teacher that are in the same time, that are running the subject, invite to another teacher, commonly a practitioner, or lawyer in our case, because we are a law school, that are working in New York or in Asia, and interactive with them in real time, with the students about this real case, how can manage this real case in their countries, for example, in US or in Asia, in India, for example. And I think it is very enrichment for the students. I think, as you said, we have also to take advantage of this opportunity, you know, to increase our value, you know, add value, you know.
Camilo,
tell me if you're listening to me, because I have to change my laptop battery off. So, Chris, well, I think that in the same way
Camilo,
that
we can see that you're not at the university.
This is a great opportunity. Sir, are you listening to me?
Yeah, but we can see that you left the university premises and you have the palm trees in the background.
This is the real university.
The jungle.
Very great.
Fantastic university.
Well, I think this is a very great opportunity. I think that for recruiting students, well, unfortunately, Colombia is not still an academic destination for people from Europe, or a big destination. So not that way. But I think what has happened that is great is that most of the universities and the law schools here in Colombia, we're working in an environment of total yellow-sea competition. And now this situation has brought us together. So I think that, yes, that has changed. For example, the four biggest universities in Colombia, private universities in Colombia, which one is mine, we're working together for try to create more scholarships for students, poor students, create multiple degrees programs. Obviously, use the professors that Andrea maybe in Ecuador have lived this. I bring a professor from the United States or from Spain, and they don't want to share it with any other law school here in the city or even in the country. And that's very, very expensive. So this has changed a lot the way we are understanding. We see now more as co-petitioners, as we have to work together to pass through all this situation. So that's what I would say about the Christopher question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's why Maria Jesus, as a president of ISLA, is very interesting this kind of roundtables, you know, because try to enrich to each others and with the rest of participants.
Thank you, Juanjo. We have one participant. He's a student. So let's hear the voice of the students. So Patrick, do you want to take the floor, please?
I think it's Rafael.
Rafael Patrick, no? Something like that. Let me see. Okay.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Hi. Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for receiving me. So first of all, I would like to say that I enjoyed all your remarks and critics and ideas about the innovation of law studying during the pandemic and online. I feel some students are very lucky to benefit some initiative from Spain and Colombia for the most innovative ideas. And I would like to share my testimony on the last semester I spent. So I'm studying in France at the Paris-Saclay University. I'm studying in Master International and Business Law. And from my perspective, I think we have two pain points. I mean, the most important pain points. First is the lack of group projects. I feel the university online in France was the same as before, just with Zoom. Nothing changed in the content of law, in the exercises, in the methodology. It was really the same. So yeah, this lack of group projects led to self-isolation of students, and I think this is the cause of the mental health issues French students are facing now. So this is a really huge problem for the French students, and I have to say that there is no perspective of doing things better for the second semester, and this is really something difficult for us and for the value also of our studies. And the second pain point is more technical, I'd say. It's about working on collaborative tools, because we've seen a lot of emails with professors, but I think this is kind of an old way of working. I mean, in some cases, the emails remain the most important and the most common tool, but I mean, to share some work or files, I believe that that the teacher could have used Google Doc, or I don't know, some more collaborative tools. And yeah, that was my remark. And I just want to answer the question of Jean-Philippe Doro from my perspective again. About design courses and creative classes in legal university. I think it would be a great idea, for instance, to work on legal design for the students and by the students, for example. And the last thing I would like to add is that law classes are really boring when a teacher is delivering a class for 3 hours without any interaction. And this is also the main cause of self-isolation of the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafael. I think your intervention has been really fascinating. Iga, I think that for our next webinar, we have to do our best to bring more students in, because it's fantastic to have also the view of the other side. I really think my conclusion on what we have been saying is that I think that the problem is that a lot of the technologies that we are using are trying to replicate the old world. And I think that at the moment we are entering into a new world, and this new world needs new tools, and they are there also, but it also needs new minds. So I guess that probably what we have to do is change our minds as teachers and understand these new tools and try to use them, but not try to replicate. I think that the big mistake is if we try to replicate the old world, because the old world for one more year is not going to exist. And I guess that after this one more year, the new world that we will have won't be the same. So, and also because, Iga, you have said it very well, there are a lot of advantages in this new situation, humanity, student-centric, teacher-centric even. We haven't talked much about this, the teachers. It has been very hard. Eric was saying that resilience, you need to be very strong, to be also balanced, and to handle all these tools. And to, I mean, most law teachers have become not only a law teacher, but also, let's say, a sort of a clerk, you know, doing a lot of tasks, which are not really what you were working for some years ago. So a lot of challenges indeed. I'm not sure whether we had any questions left. I don't think so. We have, if somebody wants to jump in, yes, Iga, okay, and then if there is nothing else, then maybe we can do a final round. And I would love our speakers to try to give us like 140 characters or 240 characters final conclusion, so that we have 3 tweets to launch into the social networks.
Yeah, I was just actually wondering, because a lot of things that we've talked about already was the emotional intelligence, the presence, the interaction with the students, and work in groups. And Juanjo, you said that it's one of the ways that actually already before it was used, and it has had excellent results. But I think, and something I'm struggling with, because I also teach in business schools, and networking and team building is a big part of the experience on its own. And I think, and I believe that so far, we haven't figured out yet, or myself, I haven't figured out. I don't know how to do it, how to reflect that experience and how to provide them and encourage them to get involved into those working groups that we can create during our class. But putting them together in a breakthrough room on Zoom, like, I yeah, there is a problem with the audio. Yeah, sorry. So I'll repeat the last sentence. I believe that the technology is just the tool in everything, in legal tech as well. It's not going to solve all of our problems. And I believe that we as actors and as responsible for this educational experience that we are providing our students with, we should realize also just having the option of the breakout rooms on Zoom or on Teams is not solving the team building problem. And I think that I would like you to reflect and think together or for creating any maybe innovative methods that you guys have and have experience for the team building online. Creating, because before as a student also I appreciated very much in this respect the association life, but it's dead now. So, or I'm mistaken, but how to encourage my students to create this network and to have a esprit de promo, as we say in French, because not seeing that much now. And I'm struggling with, because I think that it's one of the most precious things that the student can take also from the university is the friends, the connections, because it's his future network. So we should insist about that as well.
Ida, we have one more question. The person who wanted to propose teaching legal design in university. So please jump in as a final question and then we close.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, hello, everyone. I asked the question because actually after working as a legal counsel in a tech company for a couple of years, I switched to a legal innovation position, and I realized that actually now learning more about design, and actually not just design as an art and visual, how we can change visually contracts, but also how we could organize legal differently, you know, whether it's about legal tech, but actually the actual design of our courses and of, you know, how we go in law school actually. So I was just thinking about that and thinking about what you thought about maybe adding some, not just legal design, but just like proper design courses, and also on a more creative side. I was more thinking about, because I realized that a lot of when we go to law school, we tend to have this way of thought of just blocking our way on solutions that we want to do, and also it's very hard sometimes to change our opinion or to, for example, test solutions, because we tend to really be focused on like, okay, I have a solution, it's the right one, let's go. Whether creative or more happy to send their content and say, hey, what do you think? And be open to criticism, for example. So I was just thinking how we could evolve in a more, I would say, agile, if I can use that word, by design, and also with the creative courses, for example, and your thought about that.
Well, we're actually designing curriculums as we speak. That's not because of COVID, but generally because I think many universities are thinking now at revamping their curriculum, and specific curriculum related to tech especially, but not necessarily only. And I think one of the main things that we are eager to develop is creativity through specific clues. There's an appeal now to legal design, but I agree with you that it's often limited to just visualization and, you know, graphical optimization of law, which I think is a reductive way of seeing design. And so I'm totally in line with what you're saying. Design can do a lot to legal thinking at large. So yes, the short answer is yes.
Jean, for answering your question, in the same way, if you really think that 21st century skills are living, lasting skills, because this is a very fast changing world. So everything you learn, most of the information, like the core law information that you learn in university is going to change very fast. You have to create or promote these skills in the professionals. Here in South America, at least, they used to call these skills like soft skills. I suppose that in many of your countries also. I prefer to call them long-lasting or long-life skills, because this is what the professionals need to know in this fast-changing world. So yeah, I'm very, very convinced that we are launching this year like a program called Digital Lawyer. I offers, I don't like the name. I'm sorry about the name, but this is a course that using experiential learning about using projects, real projects with the industry or the government, using interdisciplinary groups of engineers and lawyers and etc. Um, resolves issues about legal tech, legal design, um, legal project management, coding for lawyers, and ethics and regulation of technology. So yeah, I think that if you really and truly believe that creativity is a skill for the future, you have to work about design or creativity skills. Uh, Mixing groups of professionals of different areas, and I recommend you this methodology about creatics. I think I suppose you know that help you to create the perfect group for innovation project. One is the planificator, or other is the dreamer. Well, we can share about all these things offline. And I didn't want to go today um, without saying that we cannot. Oh, I'm getting back 1 hour and a half. When we talk about humanity, we cannot forget about the mental health of the teachers. Every 2 years, by law, we have to make a anonymous survey about mental health, substance abuse, and the past year was the worst in the 60 years of my university. So I didn't want to leave without saying that we have to keep our eye on our teachers also. Thank you.
Thank you, Camilo. So, shall we close it here? I'm sure that there are more questions, and there have been even proposed ideas for the future, like creating a sort of toolkit for online teaching of law. I think it's a great idea, Carol. Thank you. If you want to share with us your 240 characters as a conclusion, it will be fantastic.
We can, yeah, sí, te oímos. Yeah, I think I asked the question, but I think that the work that we will produce as ILSA and the tips will answer my question about collaboration as well. So we can start the round of 30 seconds, would it be? And maybe we can reproduce the order of the interventions of our speakers from the beginning. So Juan Jose, you go first, please.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks, Jean-Philippe, for these last questions. I think, as Camilo said, apart from soft skills or parallel areas of knowledge, is basically for the people who are working the new technologies, and in the legal tech project. And I encourage you to continue, offering legal tools, because the technology never will not substitute the lawyers, but it's fundamental, to support the lawyers to be better, best in the practice. That's why I encourage you, and congratulations on your work. And about this roundtable, I want maybe, it was very, very enriching all the points that we had opportunity to debate. So I think the competences, no, I want to put on the loop, you know, the competences developed by the students during these times. I think the ability, no, to adapt to work efficiently, you know, in this uncertain environment, I think is one strength. They exercise, no, autonomy, no, and self-learning. No? I think it's important. Organization, self-discipline, time planning, you know, resilience. We had not opportunity to talk about the resilience, no, but when Maria Jesus say, no, about the burnout, or about the mental health programs that we had to launch, I think the resilience is one of the strengths that the students got and the universities offer to our public. And above all, Jan said also the technology awareness, no, fully capable, no, of integrating technology into their work, because we have not to forget that this opportunity or this context or this times that the students, also the teachers, also the university had to live, no, since March, no, that start the lockdown. Don't forget that all the resources, all these tools, all the methodology that the students, professors, universities, teachers got it is the same methodology that they have to use the day of tomorrow in the activity about lawyers or another professions. That's why they are, or in our case, as professional, we are working with the technology and with the real tools that we have to be in front not in the future, like in the present, you know. That's why, you know, I think this moment also we should get, you know, the strength and the good points about these pandemic times that is tremendous, of course. So I think, in my own opinion, it could be the key points, no, or the headlines that or the feelings, no, that I get in this panel, no, thanks to my colleagues, and for, of course, for ILSA, no, for you, Iga, and for President Maria Jesus.
Okay, thank you, Juanjo, for your 240 characters. We can go on. Who goes now?
She couldn't skip it, huh?
So,
you were right, sorry.
Camilo, it's your turn, please. Try to be concrete.
Camilo, 300 only, 300.
No, but then I was very generous, and I know you are from the social science, so I said, okay, let's give it a little bit more, because you remember that Twitter, yeah, Twitter was first 140, but then they jumped into 200. No, your microphone is off. Camilo, we cannot hear you.
And the seconds are running.
That's okay. Sorry. The only thing that I want to add, following Maria, is that we have all the technological tools, all the except this one that we want to create now for creating groups. But we have a lot of technological tools. We can use it to reproduce the old work, as you said, or you can use that to make it a little bit better. That's innovation. So we can stay one more year giving master classes through Teams, or we can do it a little bit better. That's what I suggest we should do. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Camilo. Delphine, please.
Well, in 1 second, we have everything. We have the tools, we have the method, we have the good spirits, we have the energy. And I think what is important to remember is that we are, like, what kind of engagement we want our students to have with society at large. And there's a sense of purpose that we need not to forget in drowning ourselves with all these tips and tricks. And remember that this project in which we engage our professional lives, that is education. And so let's keep it as a, you know, it's a big project. It's not these small tips and tricks only. Well.
Yes, thank you very much to all of you for sharing that. And also a small thing and contribution from my side would be not to forget to appreciate what we've already achieved and to give us really a pat on the back for doing everything that we've put into place already, because I think that it's a big struggle for the teachers as well, for the law schools. And let's not forget how far we've already come. So it's good to look in the future, but I think we should spend as much time on celebrating the success as on building the success itself. So let's appreciate it and, you know, give, I mean, congratulations to your colleagues. And it's also a form of mental support and not just in rushing them and, I mean, motivating to do better. So that's something that I would add from my side. So thank you very much for the participation today. I just want to share with you again, no, Camila, we're not saying bye yet. Just want to share, no, the upcoming webinars of ILSA. So I'm going to share the presentation again, because in the upcoming months, if I manage with the technology, in the upcoming months, we have a few webinars coming up. So I just want to keep you informed, and my presentation is loading, but the next one will be devoted to, it's not the opening, but it's available on our website. So the next one is going to be about teaching intelligence, artificial intelligence, and the methods of teaching it. So how should it be taught? And it's on the 10th of February. The next one is about what is a legal hackathon and how to successfully organize one. And in April, we will speak about what is a legal tech lab, when and how to set up one. And in May, we will be speaking about the big question, the second big question after whether the lawyers will be replaced by robots, is should the lawyers know how to code? So that's the future webinars that we present for the ILSA community. Sorry for not sharing the presentation with you and having the visual support. It's something that we learned today as well, to variate in the methodologies. So my immediate application is failing, but it's the technology that also fails. So let's not forget that and congratulate ourselves for the work we did today on the webinar. So thank you very much to all the participants for your engagement, for all the speakers for sharing your views and observations. It's incredibly valuable already. And I think that, I mean, the implementation and the ideas and the fresh views and such an international perspective is something that we should embrace with the technology and the digital world that we live in. So thanks a lot, and I wish everybody a nice evening day. It's our pleasure to see you in the upcoming webinars. So thanks a lot, everyone.